Well, corruption, cronyism and lack of watertight legislation are major threats to the devolution dream as the country marks 10 years since the inception of county governments. Now, according to former Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, there is urgent need for both the Commission on Revenue Allocation and the Control of Budget to push for enactment of laws that will tame counties of expenditure on recurrent at the expense of development. As Duncan Khaemba reports, out of the 2.9 trillion released to counties since 2013, 1.2 trillion has been spent on personal emoluments.
Promulgation of Kenya's homemade constitution on August 27, 2010, heralded a new dawn in many fronts. Among them was establishment of 47 county governments as a move to decentralize resources and power. It is now 10 years since devolution rollout, whose main aim was to cure ills of decades of marginalization in some parts of the country, initially orchestrated by the colonial government, which focused only on high-potential economic areas, the highlands, hence marginalizing low economic areas in arid and semi-arid zones. Come independence, the central government continued with that strategy.
And after independence, we actually took up that colonial economic approach to things under session paper number 10 of 1965, where we again focused on high potential areas and put in very little in the low potential areas. So when we had our new constitution, 2010, you find that the national cake is shared equitably. And that by itself has made certain areas that were marginalized, not by mistake, by policy, now getting development for the first time.
Immediate former Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, who manned the Ministry of Devolution, says the concept was a game changer in many aspects.
As Minister for Devolution, I was very surprised that in some areas of Kenya, children born and raised almost 20, 30 years had never seen a tarmac road. In places like Mandera, Wajir, during devolution, is the first time they saw tarmac roads. First time they were getting hospital facilities, because we had people traveling as far as Nairobi, all the way from Mandera, just for what you would call a CT scan. They couldn't get it there.
However, whereas framers of the Constitution were after equitable sharing of the national cake by devolving resources and power for people to make their own decisions in their locality according to their priorities, there are still glaring major challenges and threats.
In the process of devolving this, we also devolved corruption. To me, the biggest enemy of devolution is corruption. You'd find that even some of the governors in those remote areas that are for the first time getting a share of the national cake, instead of investing in their counties, many of them have invested in Nairobi and other places, yet their people back home are suffering.
Despite the success recorded so far, majority of Kenyans are of the opinion that devolution dream has been hijacked by corruption and cronyism, which, if not arrested, will cripple devolution.
What is happening in the counties? You find that there's serious tribalism, clanism, you find cronyism, nepotism. Even in some areas like in northern Kenya, where there was marginalization within the counties, there's a new form of marginalization, local marginalization of certain clans. If the governor and the senator, the women, are maybe aligned from a certain clan, when they move in, it's their time to eat. So they marginalize the other clans.
County governments have also been accused of failing to follow the constitution to the latter. Some said to be still stuck in the past, the big man syndrome.
You know, we haven't appreciated why we changed from a centralized system to a decentralized system. So we must give the people the voice And the essence of devolution is really public participation. Whether we are forming our CIDPs for our counties, we must involve the people. We must go down to the lowest level. And Professor Kivuza Kibwana did a good job. When you're talking about public participation, Makueni County is a model.
Governors have also been accused of failing to adhere to laid down regulations in as far as balancing between development and recurrent expenditure is concerned, with counties now seen as employment bureaus and not serving the main purpose of spurring development. Duncan Haemba, NTV.